What is up, friends? It is Vanicate here with another Maplestory Classic Worlds guide. Today I'm going to be talking about the difference between blunt weapon and swords for White Knight, my recommendations, and the strengths and weakness on them both. Before I get into it, I need to give a brief overview of how enemy defense works in Maplestory. This is not the traditional Maplestory 2007 era defense formula. It actually uses the post-Big Bang PDR system. What this means is that every enemy in this game has a PDR rate. A physical damage reduction. Normal enemies, like the ones you see me fighting now, have 10%. Some special enemies have 15%. Bosses like Zakum have 20%. And some super special snowflakey enemies like Crimson Balrog have 25%. The max you should ever really deal with is 10 or 20% for mobbing and bossing respectively. What does this mean? It means that every single attack you make against these enemies is reduced by that amount. However, due to Maplestory's extremely weird damage calculations, ignoring 10% enemy defense actually gives you plus 12.5% damage. Don't ask me to explain this, I do not have time for that. But every 10%, 12.5% damage increase. So, looking at Blunt Weapon Mastery, at max, it gives all attacks with a blunt weapon a 20% chance to ignore 100% of enemy defense. So bypassing this PDR rate entirely. Swords literally only give you 90 weapon defense. It's practically useless. So why am I using sword? 2 reasons: swing stab ratio and threaten. Threaten is, for all intents and purposes, the page/paladin party buff. It reduces the PDR of all enemies it hits. It has a nice range, and you can actually interrupt mid-cast. It hits everything around you, and it lasts for 30 seconds. What it does is it reduces the PDR of the target by 10. So if they have 10%, they now have 0. If they're a boss that has 20%, they now have 10%. So just applying Threaten gives your whole party a 10.5% DPS increase, unless they bypass defense. Now, this means that Blunt Weapon Mastery gives all of your attacks a 20% chance to do 12.5% extra damage to bosses specifically. Zakum, for example. The downside are many. Look at Gigantic Sledge. Compare those attack speeds. It is very noticeable. You lose about 8 hits per minute using Gigantic Sledge over a Doombringer. You can't see it on Red Katana in the Judgment, but Red Katana is 1 stage faster than the Judgment. You lose about 3 or 4, give or take, hits on the Judgment compared to Red Katana. This alone completely bypasses any gains you might have from the physical damage reduction, ignoring. Again, it's only a 1 in 5 chance to bypass enemy defense. The other factor to consider with blunt weapons, watch my damage range here. That is not from the 2 extra weapon attack. You naturally increase your upper limit by about 10% by equipping a blunt weapon over a sword. This is because of the swing stab ratio. Every hit with a sword has the same ratio. It is always 1.8 weapon multiplier. For a blunt weapon, two-handed anyway, 2.5 is the swing, and 1.3 think it's 1.3 is the stab. It translates to about a 30% damage reduction on the stabs. So 40% of the time, your blunt weapon will hit about 30% less damage. 4 out of every 10 swings. Whereas the swings will do about 10% more. You're still hitting much slower. You will not get more value out of those 10% extra hits, especially reducing the 30% from the losses to outweigh the speed and the balance of a sword. Sword wins in DPM. It wins in predictability. The only thing it loses out on is maximum potential single hit damage. All that said, you will not be gimping yourself by going blunt weapon. You will not be as good as someone who went sword, but you'll still be good. White Knights are currently the second hardest hitting class in the entire game against any elementally weak enemy. Anyway, I hope this helped. Hope you guys understand it now. I really don't feel like doing the formulas for you guys.